Today we're going to talk about percent of a quantity and problem solving using percents. So you're going to see problems like, what number is 20% of 30? We talked about a few weeks ago how to change percent into decimal and into fraction. We're going to have to use that skill in order to solve these kinds of problems. So when we see this problem, we want to set it up as n, that number, that's something we don't know, remember that's a variable, is equals, n equals, we need to change that percent into a decimal. Remember, to do that we have to move that decimal 2 places, so that's why we have 20 hundredths here, times 30, of 30. Remember, of means to multiply. So 20% of 30, we're going to multiply 30 times 20 hundredths. When we multiply that, we'll get 6. So 6 is 20% of 30. We can also say 6 out of 30 is equal to 20 out of 100, because 20 out of 100 is a percent. What we're saying is that 30 is the whole 100%. It's the whole piece we're looking at, and this 20% is the 6. It's the 6 out of that 30. So now let's try one step by step. What number is 25% of 80? First step, we want to write that percent as a rate of 100. So 25 out of 100. And then we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to set this up as being equal to some number, x, out of 80. So cross multiply, we want to do 100 times x, which would be 100x, is equal to 80 times 25. 80 times 25 is 2,000. And then we want to isolate that x by dividing both sides by 100. So we divide here and here. Remember, that cancels out and leaves me with x equals 2,000 divided by 100. And 2,000 divided by 100 is 20. So x equals 20. So that means that 20 is 25% of 80. Now another way, this is the way we did it on the first example, is to convert the percent to a decimal number and then multiply by what we're looking at. So if I say 0.9%, I want to first convert that into a decimal, not a percent. So I move that 1 2 places. So my my decimal is now 0.009. That is 9 thousandths. So I say 9 thousandths times 30. That's like what we did right here. So 9 thousandths times 30. Remember, when we do multiplication with decimals, we line up our numbers and then count decimal places at the end. So 9 thousandths times 30. We're going to have 0, 0, 0, 0. Don't forget your placeholder. 3 times 9 is 27. Carry the 2. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 2. Then 3 times 0, 3 times 0. Then we add it all up. Get 0, 7, 2, 0, 0. I got 1, 2, 3 decimal places, so I come over 1, 2, 3. So my answer here is 0 and 27 hundredths. Now, problem solving with percent is when we have word problems. So, John is driving to visit his parents who live 360 miles away from his house. He has already driven 15% of the distance. How many miles does he still have to drive? So we have to look at my total distance, which is 100%. That's all of the distance he has to drive. And we're saying that he's only driven 15%. So he's only driven this little piece right here, but he's got to drive all of this. So the model shows that 100% is 360 miles. Now, if we want to figure out what 15% of that is, we can say 1% of 360. We divide that 360 by 100 because 1% is 1 out of 100. So we divide 360 into 100 little pieces. 360 divided by 100 is 3 6/10. If you didn't know what that was, remember you can say 360 divided by 100 And then we say 100 will go into 360 3 times, which gives you 300. Subtract, and you get 60. Well, 100 won't go into 60, so we want to add a decimal 0 and bring it down. 100 will go into 600 6 times. That's where I got my 3 6/10. Now, if 1% of 360 is 3 6/10, then 15% of 360 would equal 15 times that 3 6/10. So we come over here and we multiply 360. We multiply 3 6/10 times 15. Remember, multiplying decimals, you multiply without the decimal and then you go back and count it in. 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18. Add your 0 here. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. Add that together. 6 and 8 is 14. 1 and 1 is 2 plus 3 is 5. I only have one decimal place, so I only come over once. So 15 times 3 6/10 is 54. So John has already driven 54 miles. He still has to drive 360 minus that 54 because we have to take that away from his total. And then 360 minus 54. Borrow from that 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. 5 minus 5 is 0. Bring your 3. That's 306 miles is what he has left to drive.